Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to a special Between Takes episode of Missing Frames. I'm your host, Sean Eastridge. Today I am interviewing a really amazing filmmaker. His name is Evan Kidd. He is the writer, director, editor, and cinematographer for the new film Panda Bear It, which is now streaming on Amazon. It is a crazy film, and it's incredibly creative, incredibly well made. It's about an aspiring rapper who is dealing with grief in a unique way, and also there's someone in a panda bear suit kind of following him around too. Why not? Throw everything into it. So Evan and I talk a little bit about his background, what inspired him to start making films, his do-it-yourself approach. I mean, like I said, he did so much for this film, and he did it all himself, and it was made on a budget of about $1,000. And when you watch it, it doesn't really feel like that, and it's incredibly impressive. So we talk a bit about that, how it's important if you're an aspiring filmmaker to just get out there and do it, to stop making excuses. You can find the means to do it. The tools are available. So we talk about that. We talk about what inspired the film and a bunch of other stuff about how Lucasfilm and Christopher Nolan should hire Evan to make their next movies. It was a ton of fun chatting with him, and it's a great conversation. So I really hope you enjoy listening, and make sure to check out Panda Bear It on Amazon.
Now available to own on video cassette.
Well, Evan, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here on the internet with me.
Happy to be here on the internet, man. Thanks for having me.
Aren't we? We should all be happy to be on the internet. We should be happy to be
Yes.
anywhere. It's a crazy time. So
It
being
is.
anywhere, even if it's on the internet, this is good. We're making progress.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just watched your film Panda Bear It, which is just crazy and great. And you are just like, you're kind of do you feel like, is it okay for me to call you a prodigy? Would you enjoy that term? Can I call you a prodigy?
Well, I mean, I don't know about that, but I mean, I appreciate the compliment.
Take it. I say that because, like, I was so impressed with the fact that I was, scoping this out on IMDb, and I assume this is true. I believe you are the one putting the information in there. This was shot for $1,000.
Yeah.
And you, in general, have this vibe of, like, based on your YouTube channel, based on the other stuff you've done, you've been kind of like, I just kind of felt like making a movie, so I did it. And that, to me, I mean, if prodigy is too strong of a word, we can pick maybe a one syllable out of the word prodigy, like pra or di or g, and assign that to you. Because that's pretty awesome. You have a lot of people, myself included, who sit around and say, oh man, I would love to make something, and don't do it, but you're just doing it. So kudos to you. Is that just something that you've always been capable of? Was there a breaking point for you where you were like, you know what, I'm tired of being that person, I want to do it? Or is this something that you've always done?
Man, it's just sort of like, I think it's just impatience. After a while, I just look to do a thing, and then I'm like, man, I can't sit, and I need to do it. It may be too much coffee, too much sugar. I don't know, too much something, but something in the water, I guess, man. But no, I don't know. For real, I just love making movies, and for me, I know I'm very like positive but also realistic, and I'm a realist, and I understand that as Mark Duplass said many years ago at South by Southwest, the cavalry is not coming. And as indie filmmakers, it's kind of enlightening and inspiring once you realize, well, we can make, we can write, we can do, and that needs to be why we're doing the things we're doing, not always to get some big investor, producer, Hollywood bigwig to come in and fund your project, and then, hey, now you're doing Star Wars. I'd love for that
Although
to be
that's
the case.
Nice. That's nice. Yes.
Hey,
that's a nice goal.
They're making 10 Star Wars shows now next year or whatever it is. I mean, surely they have room to just throw me on the lowest tier one to direct an episode, right? So
I think we can make this happen.
Yes.
I think we're on our way. Yeah,
they have their hands
I was
full.
they are inventing shows before they even know who's going to be running it, who's going to be directing it. So I think there's a really solid chance of you getting in on that for
Sick.
sure.
I'll count on it.
Well, I mean, like, look at George Lucas. He was starting off making his own movies, practically independent, like THX 1138. So
That's
there
right.
you go. These are things, these are within your grasp. The next step is Star Wars. But what was the first movie you made? Like, what was the first one? Was it I want to know when it happened, and then like from there, what were the next steps? Like, was it like, oh, well, I'll keep doing this? Did you go to film school? How did this all pan out?
Yeah, so this is a almost like two answers. So I have like two answers for a first film. The first would be like my legitimate like first film on IMDb that like you would find on the internet, and that's Spaz Out, and it was like a documentary I made in 2013, just roving around this like underground punk rock music festival thing that was like happening in abandoned warehouses and just like interviewing the people who were making it tick. Super gritty.
Did you start doing that? Like, was it just like, I'm going to start filming stuff, or were you intent? Like, you were like, no, I want to make this a documentary, or was it kind of like
Documentary. Yeah, I
Okay.
was smelling a story that was more than just the music festival, and I was like, I think if I follow my nose, I'll find something. And sure enough, there was definitely like tons of interesting people, a lot of heart, a lot of cool stuff going on. And that was in a small town in Greenville, North Carolina, where I also went to film school at East Carolina University and kind of learned the nuts and bolts of, composing a shot, rule of thirds, making sure the audio doesn't sound like garbage, just kind of all those basic things, like a little bit of everything. And I think that kind of like workman way of making films kind of translated through, because I think when I first started film school, I had this illusion of like, we're going to do this, then pack it up to LA and that's it. That's all she wrote. But I think the more I got into it, the more I was like thinking about like how everything ticked and how it worked, and just at the end of the day, like, why am I doing the things that I'm doing
Yeah.
regarding film?
And then, do you remember what inspired you to get into it in the first place?
Yeah. So I think for me, like, I always watch TV and movies, and this kind of links back to like the first film that I made that will never see the light of day. And it was, I mean, not counting like, I always took the family VHS camera and like filmed random things growing up. As a kid, toys and pets and neighbors. I would just be like, do a thing, do a flip, and that's a film. Kind of like, I guess, Vine before Vine. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like the first real film I made was like a film that was set within the world of Home Alone. And I made
Oh
it
my
like
God.
when I was in early high school. I did all the acting, I did all the camera work. The only thing I did was I needed my brother to hold the camera when one of the characters got shot, because it was within the world of, okay, you've seen Home Alone, right?
I've seen Home Alone
Okay,
where, I mean, a gunshot will not kill these burglars based on what they've gone through.
correct.
How Kevin has basically murdered them hundreds of times over. So I see where you're going.
Well, bear with me. I'm going on a slight tangent, but I promise it'll come back around. So basically, it was set within that world of Angels with Filthy Souls, I think is the fictional movie. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Yes,
With the
yes.
guy who's like count to 10 and, he like
Yeah, keep
rewinds
the
the
change, you
VHS.
filthy
Yes, keep
animals.
the change, you filthy animal. That classic line. So I basically made a film within that world. So I continued the storyline of snakes and all the people.
You were creating the Home Alone cinematic universe.
That's right, the
basically.
Home Alone cinematic universe. And let me tell you, man, at the time I thought this is it. I was like in 10th grade or whatever, and I was like, this is, a stroke of genius here. I'm hitting something. And I like put it away because I hated how I was acting. And I watched it the next year and I was like, thank God I did not put this on the internet. I can delete it. There is no trace of it aside from like one thumb drive. So,
It definitely, when you describe it, it sounds very endearing. It sounds like
oh,
it's not the case to actually watch it.
no, it's very cringe to watch, but hey, it helped kickstart all this. So,
That's it. So you have to
good for
start
that.
somewhere, and what better way than kicking off the Home Alone
That's right.
cinematic universe? But when did you decide to make the move from documentary to like actual
Yeah.
narrative storytelling? Was it a natural thing, or was it something where it was just like, I tried this, let me give this a shot now?
Yeah, so it's funny, like I've actually never left documentary. I kind of ping pong back and forth like a crazy person every once in a while. I think narrative is definitely like my favorite, but then like you asked me that question 5 months from now, maybe I'll, switch back to documentary. I
Right.
kind of go back and forth. I don't know why. Like I know most filmmakers kind of pick one or the other, and they'll occasionally dabble a little bit, but I've kind of worked it out where I made Spaz Out, and then my thesis was a narrative for film school. It was a short called Displacement Welcomed. And then the next year was when I did my first feature narrative, Son of Clowns, also in North Carolina, for like no money. And that kind of kickstarted a bunch of things. And then I did this documentary for 5 years while I was doing all that, called Run of the Picture, and it was about like a filmmaker who was also an Olympic runner. So super meta, super like
Yeah.
full of
Yeah.
craziness. And then I did Panda Bear, which is narrative. So who knows? Maybe I'll ping pong back if I find a story that's compelling enough. But yeah.
What sparked the idea for Panda Barrett? Like, I mean, what was the first germ of an idea of like, well, maybe this is my next feature?
Yeah, so Panda Barrett was super weird how it came together. Like, I had been a few years removed from Son of Clowns, and I had seen the underbelly of the indie film world and film festivals, and kind of you have to get your heart broken a little bit to understand how it works. And
Yeah.
not that I had any illusions when I made the film that I was gonna make me the guy who's making the next Star Wars, but you kind of just
Right.
think. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's, I think, just naivete when you're younger.
Well, you put
You
a
know,
lot of heart and soul, and
yeah,
I mean, it's not just that. It's like full on creative energy, but it's exhausting. It's physical energy, and it's like at the end of it, you want to feel like you came out of it with the greatest thing ever that will blow everybody away. And then you realize, you look around and people are like, "Oh, that's good. All right, what's next?" And it's like,
exactly.
excuse me. So I imagine. I mean, it is. It takes a toll.
It's a wild machine, and like the ride is crazy, but it's so worth it because at the end of the day, I'm so glad I did all that, because like I
You're
now
creating something.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just like getting it out of your system, having something to say. I'm still super proud of that film, but like it's so crucial to get that out of your system. And I say that like time and time again, just so you can understand the long game of being a filmmaker. And the way it works is to just keep making things, and it's not always about who's coming to rescue you, because oftentimes no one ever will. And you have
Right.
to find not to get too deep, only 10 minutes into this, but like just really find that like zen of like, I want to be a filmmaker because I want to tell stories, and this is the way I'm telling stories. And if it
Yeah.
gets better and bigger budgets and big monsters and CGI, that's great. But if it's just me and two other people and just making stuff in my backyard, that's awesome too. A story is
Yeah.
a story no matter how you slice it. And sometimes the big CGI monsters don't do that much. So
And Panda Bear, was it the panda? Were you like, I
yeah.
just want to put somebody in a Panda Bear suit and let's?
Yeah, I'll just say, like, it was just a weird like thought that was super fleeting. So the guy who plays the lead, Camus Leonardo, he's a rapper in Durham, North Carolina, which is right near Raleigh, and super talented guy. And this was actually his like acting debut. And before Panda
That's
Bear,
crazy because
yeah,
he's a natural.
he's
He's so good.
awesome. He is so good. And I, can't wait to work with him again. I need COVID to like stop being a thing so that we can make 100 more movies together, cuz like I want to work
Yeah,
with him,
seriously.
and I want other people to work with him too, cuz he's just super talented.
Yeah.
But we were like, before all that, like before the film was even like a thing, we were talking about making a music video. And that was all it was. And there was this track, and it was kind of serious, and then we were talking about like how to make it kind of funky. And I was like, well, what if we just like, I don't know, threw this Panda Bear mascot guy in the background or whatever. And that was like just never addressed in the music video, even though it was very serious. And he was like, yeah, okay, you think that would work? I'm like, I mean, maybe not. And but we could try it. Like, we were just kind of at a coffee shop spitballing ideas.
Right.
And what that actually turned into was like, the more I got to know Camus, like I got to know the person. And he is the character. Camus in the film is a version of himself, but there's a lot of heart and truth in that version, even though some
Right.
things are slightly different. So the more I got to know him, the more I was like, okay, wow, no, there's a deeper story here. And what we basically ended up doing was making a movie about grief. And the Panda Bear, which was this like absurd, crazy thing, was basically kind of a representation of that grief that
Yeah.
follows you around and is like super silly and loud in presentation, but oftentimes under the surface it's like, oh, this gets kind of crazy and dark. So it's a weird movie, basically. Long story short,
But weird is
it's
good.
yeah, weird is good. But if you like weird, I think you'll like Panda Barrett. Yeah.
And where do you find the balance when it's? I mean, because that was what was interesting to me. It took me a little bit to realize, oh, his girlfriend, she died, and it wasn't like, at
Yeah.
first I was like, was it a breakup? And then I started to
Yeah.
put it together, and I was like, okay, this thing is kind of haunting him in some weird way, but also kind of like an angel on his shoulder trying to
Yeah.
get him to be creative again or to push past his grief and create again. But I guess as you're writing this and as you're coming up with the story, where do you find the balance, and how do you, because it is like you said, it's crazy, and sometimes it's just flat out like just goofy and like
Mhm.
but hilarious, and then you have to balance it out with these very sincere heartfelt moments where, especially the scene with the farmer near the end, and I don't want to spoil anything, but I there's some really intense moving stuff. Where do you find that balance? What for you is the kind of the point where you say, all right, I got to pull it back and make it more grounded?
I think the biggest inspiration for the balance just comes from life for me. It's just the truthful of it, just the truthful nature
Mm,
of it. And I think it shows us that, life is not one note. And, when a terrible thing happens, funny things still sort of find their way to you. And, that you may not find them super funny in the moment, but they can still occur, and you can stub your toe and drop a cake or do something crazy. And I mean, it may be kind of depressing, but there is humor. And then oftentimes in humor there's also a lot of sadness and a lot of drama that's
yeah.
being masked by the humor. And so it was kind of like a way to it's all a circle at the end of the day, so it's like no matter which way you're going on that circle toward the comedy or drama, it always leads back around. And that was kind of the through line for me when I was trying to find the balance. And there's probably 20 minutes of footage that were on the cutting room floor from the shoot where it was even more dramatic, and I kind of had to scale it back a little bit because I didn't want it to be just too melodramatic and too one note.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you said, the whole thing about there was a line originally that addressed what happened to the girlfriend, and you found out a lot earlier in the movie that she had passed,
Hmm.
and I took it out because I wanted to keep the viewer guessing, but also it didn't matter how she died. It was just that she did.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
exposition ultimately did nothing for the story. Because the story was about the grief and the understanding to that shock, not so much the event itself. So
And with Damien, like this being his first real acting debut,
yeah.
was there a sense of nervousness there? How do you talk him through like hitting some of these emotional beats? Because, like I said, he's great in the film and he has such a natural presence. Like he was very. I'm very impressed to hear that he was like this was his first thing, really. So, for you as a director, having conversations with him, helping him maybe overcome some of his insecurities about it, or was he just like gung ho, no, let's do this?
He was, man, he was so awesome. He was like my biggest cheerleader through this whole thing. He was like, whatever you want to do, man, let's go. I'll give you 100%. You want another take, let me know. And oftentimes I'd be like, man, I don't need another take. You're just like killing it out here. And again, it loops back to, he had done some music videos before. So I think that helps a little bit, but like, scripted and acting, I mean, this was first time for him. And, yes, we did do rehearsals, but I think a lot of it is just me getting to know him, and the time before I wrote the film helped me kind of shape the character to be a version of himself. And, again, while this character Camus, it's not exactly what happened to him. He did recently lose someone, and it, wasn't his
Mm,
girlfriend, but, the way he talked about that to me and the way I understood his grief process, I think he put a lot of that into the film. And he would tell me later, we did a spin-off talk, about just all the stuff afterwards, and kind of got to recap and just digest everything. And he
yeah,
was saying it was very therapeutic for him in a way. Very difficult too, but I think for him a lot of it was real, and I could sense it in the room. And just the way he would be able to like act, and then kind of come back out of it and make a joke or
yeah.
something, because the script is not all that drama all the time, but when it happens, it happens. So, I mean, my hat is just off to him because he truly did an incredible job. So
And what about Melissa? How did you? She plays the panda. How do
yes.
you? How do you explain this role to her, where you're basically like, okay, you're kind of in it, but you're also a panda.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
so it's
and what were the
funny.
conversation like? How do you? how did she find the character? How do you work with her to find the character when she is wearing this outfit basically the whole movie?
Yeah, and that's what was so funny is like when I put out the casting call online, I made sure to say 100% of the time, like, you are in a full body panda bear costume, like it covers your face, it's hot. We were doing masks before
You're in
masks,
North
like,
Carolina. Yes,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
really hot.
exactly. Like,
When did you film during the summer?
we filmed, no, thankfully we filmed like October and November of
Okay.
2019.
Okay.
So it was cooling down a bit, but there were still,
Gotcha.
how it is, there's still a few hot
Yeah,
days
yeah.
that rear their head. And the thing with that panda costume, she was a trooper. Like, it was so hot in there sometimes, like, we would all be fine, and then she would be like pulling off the head to, get a drink of water, and she'd be like, it's like a sauna in here, like very
Oh
little
no.
ventilation. I mean, we bought the thing, not it was pretty cheap because we didn't have a lot of money, so we didn't get the highest
Spared
end.
no expense.
Yeah, spared no expense for the panda. But no, she was amazing, and it was cool to see how she brought that character to life when you don't obviously see her eyes. It's just entirely
Mhm.
based on gestures and body language and movements, and she really did a great job of bringing it to life. And we had this like podcast on my show a few months ago where we like talked to all the actors, and in her episode she specifically said it was just like a big playtime because she had kids, or she has kids, and she talks about like for her that was her biggest inspiration, was just like always goofing off and trying to get one to calm down or do this or do that. And she was like saying it was just like an extension of like silly things you do as a parent. And I was like, oh wow, that's interesting, I never thought about that. But she was like such a
Yeah.
natural.
I get that vibe specifically in the scene when he's going off camping and they're in the field. There's this
Yeah.
sense of like, this may not be the case, so tell me if I'm wrong, but I almost got the sense of you kind of like saying, all right, we're rolling and let's just see what happens here. Is
Yeah.
that close to the mark?
Yes, that montage where they're just like in the field going camping.
Yeah.
Like there was a little bit of direction, but it was like, here, Melissa, take this stick. What do you think Panda
Right.
would do? And she was like, I don't know. Panda wants him to hurry up, and Panda would throw it. That's what she did, because she wanted to hurry up and get the take, and because it's hot, and like I love that,
Yes.
because like Panda was like funny like that. Like Panda would tell him to hurry up sometimes when he was
Yeah.
writing and taking too long to like get his thoughts down for the song he's writing, because he like writes a song within the film. And Panda would just be impatient, and I think that like always added to the humor. And yeah, Panda was just such a funky character because Camus is the only person who can see her the whole film.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
obviously like Panda will appear in different points where other people are there, and Camus will see and try to like not acknowledge, but it's like funny because Panda's like trying to get his attention. And so it was like the first dip of surrealism I've kind of been able to put into my movies, and it was so much fun. So
Well, it's great. There is a dreamlike quality to the film, and I wanted to ask you, when you're working with such limited resources, because again, uh, I'm so impressed by you and what you've pulled off here, because not only did you write and direct this, you also edited it and you shot it. So I need to understand, the film doesn't like it doesn't feel amateurish to me. It feels confident and it feels like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. So how do you approach that when you have such limited resources, and as not only are you're directing it, but you're also, I assume you're the one lighting it and figuring all this stuff out, because there's so many, and I'm thinking of that sequence in particular because that's such a fun sequence, and then it cuts to them at night, and it's just like, how did you even shoot this at night just based on the amount of resources that were at your disposal? So what is important to you, knowing what you have at your disposal, to make sure, like, you're like, I want this to look as professional as it possibly can within the limitations? What's the most important steps to take in that regard?
for me, I think it was just finding the ways in which we could do shots easier, work smarter, not harder, like the wood scene you're mentioning where they're, camping. Normally if you're shooting that legitimately out in the middle of the woods, which all the daytime scenes for the woods we did, because lighting wasn't as much of a concern because, that sun be working.
Right.
And it was doing its thing, and we had the reflectors and all that and the flags. But at night it's so much harder to shoot when you don't have electricity, and battery
Yeah.
helps. And we had like a few of those little lights with battery, but we had a light kit, and we wanted to use it. And so what we did was we figured out that where we filmed Camus's like house scenes at, there was this big, expanse of woods behind it. And we found that if we got like a 40 foot extension cable, we could just run power from the house out into
That's
where the
great.
woods started. And then we just never faced the house. So it just kind of looked like it stitched together, even though it was in a completely different part of the state. And, when you're editing, you don't know all that. So
Was there anything you were particularly like, I can't believe we pulled this off, or anything you're particularly proud of?
yeah, the shots were there's a shot where he's like walking in the woods that's kind of a dream sequence. It's only a few seconds long. But he's got his little lantern and he's like turning around because
Oh
Panda's
yeah.
following. And I just love the way that came together. And the cinematography was interesting because this was the first real narrative project, not counting like one short I did, where it was like a full film that I shot that was narrative. And I think what helped me with that was documentary beforehand, because I would usually always shoot all my documentaries myself just out of kind of necessity. And I was like, well, it's documentary. I don't have to be the best shooter in the world. It's fine. But, I eventually, I guess, got a little more competent, and I've done quite a bit of shooting in the years since that first documentary, both narrative and otherwise, and for other people, and day jobs and music videos and stuff like that. So when it came to Panda Barrett, I'd always prefer to work with a cinematographer, but I kind of knew the look I wanted, and it came down to the people I wanted to work with weren't available, but I also knew I wanted to shoot in fall to get that kind of transitional look, just because it
Yeah.
matched the palette of Camus and what he was going through in the film. So I kind of had that now or never moment where I was like, I'm going to either need to shoot this myself or wait for another cinematographer to be available. And that might not be till fall 2020. And obviously I'm glad I didn't wait. So.
Yeah, that worked out very well.
Yeah,
Good decision.
sometimes it's for the best, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I think it's the best stuff I've shot um yet. And I mean, I think it took 7-8 years of practicing and doing a bunch of other stuff beforehand to kind of feel comfortable doing that. But yeah, it was definitely interesting doing all of that stuff, and it added a little extra adrenaline rush when you're in the field, just because not only are you directing, but you're making sure the cards are not full or formatted wrong,
Right.
or doing all that data management and stuff like that.
Is
So.
that something where you're going to be happy to pass off that role to somebody else someday, like
Yeah,
when you're able to start, or is it something where you're like, oh, you know what, I kind of, maybe I'll try it again sometime?
I mean, I don't miss the stress, but there is a part of me that's very pleased to know I can do that. It's like,
Yeah.
if I ever have to do that, I can do that. And with the world we're in today, maybe when films start shooting, they're small again for a while. And I mean, I've always kind of had small sets anyway, because I'm indie in the way that just cookie crumbles. But
Yeah.
it's nice to know you have the option, just because sometimes it lets you do a thing where you might not have been able to do a thing prior. And it's funny, like, coming from my first feature, Son of Clowns, I had a cinematographer, and then it's like funny that in my second I would just do it myself, because some people would say that's almost like a step backwards. But for me, it almost felt like just a proving ground to say, like, if I ever have to do it, I can. But more than certainly, if I can be blessed enough to work with an awesome cinematographer, I would 100% do that too. So.
Do you have a favorite role though? Like, I mean, not only, I mean, like I said, directed, wrote, edited, cinematographer, also acting, a little bit of acting as well.
Yeah.
You get a cameo in the
Very
film.
small cameo. It
Very
was
small
bigger,
cameo.
and I cut more of it out just because I couldn't stomach myself. So.
You're like, you had flashbacks to that Home Alone movie.
I
You're
did.
like, I can't do it.
I was like, this is too much.
But do you like, is there a role, like, is directing your thing, or are you like, actually, you know what, maybe editing, like, I'd prefer to do that a little bit more? Or is it just like, is there anyone you prefer over another?
Yeah. So it's interesting that you say that. So editing is the weirdest thing for me, because I think that's probably, like, technically my strongest suit, because I do it for, day job work. I do it for freelance.
Right.
I've done it, even longer than I've done filmmaking. Like, before I even went to film school, I had been editing in, Windows Movie Maker, just making like stupid little, anime music videos on YouTube in 2006, where I would like set, videos to songs and, what I'm saying, like stuff that doesn't even
Right.
like matter, but it was just playtime for me when I was young. And so I've been editing forever, and for me, I'm a very like, I'm not a sentimental editor. When I'm editing, because I do it so much for work, I am very like ruthless on an edit. I'm like, if this doesn't need to be here, goodbye.
Right,
And
right.
it's harder to do that on your own work, and certainly
Yeah.
that does get in the way. But I think like being an editor first before I was a director kind of helped me be a little more judicious and intentional with what I'm directing. And again, certainly there's still times where I show the film to someone and they're like, yeah, that scene, I don't know why you're attached to it, but you need to kill it. But you know other than that, like, I do think now in 2020 I have a much better sense of what's working and what's not. So hopefully someone only tells me that like once in a film when I show it for
Yeah.
them versus like 6 times with 6 different scenes. So
Yes. Yeah.
it's an evolution. But I think like in addition to that, like my favorite place is like writer director, and I
Mm.
fuse them together because for me they are always fused together. Like when I write a script, I you know really don't have any intention of giving it off to anyone else to direct. Not because I think they couldn't do it, they'd probably do a better job, but because I don't expect anyone's buying. So I'm
Yeah.
the lowest
Yeah.
bidder and the only bidder, so I'm like, hey, I'm going for it. So,
That's awesome, though.
yeah,
That's really awesome. My next question is just in terms of what happens next. Like, I mean, the world is nuts right now,
it
and
is.
Panda Bear. Was it? I mean, this seems was this kind of your intended rolling out of the film, regardless of COVID? Like to get because it's streaming on Amazon right now, and I think is it streaming in other places too, or is it just Amazon at the moment?
Just Amazon at the moment, but stay tuned. There is some other maybes, but I can't quite say yet. But hopefully,
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
was this going to be the plan regardless, or how did COVID affect it? And then also, like we're talking about, what's the future? Like, what are
Hmm.
you? Big productions can kind of like there was a scary time at the beginning, and then they were all like, oh well, I guess we can kind of do this anyway. But that luxury doesn't exist necessarily for independent filmmakers. So how do you navigate that world, and when do you start to get back out there? And what are you working on to kind of keep yourself from going insane?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, no doubt you don't need me to tell you that, but long story short, this was not at all the way we intended Panda Barrett's
Mm,
release to go. We had submitted to film festivals and we played a few of them, but they were all, obviously virtual and online, so we couldn't go. And, I've still yet to see this movie in a movie theater, and I've yet to see
oh
this
damn.
movie with an audience. And, I know one day I will, and that's fine. And it'll be the ass backwards screening. That's probably what I would bill it as. Is like, hey, you've seen it for 2 years now streaming, but let's go for it one more
Right.
time in the theater.
Come
And,
on down.
who knows, maybe that will endear Christopher Nolan to buy me a screening for the film. But
I think that's it. Again,
that's
we
the
got Star
strategy.
Wars, we got Christopher Nolan. You've got a few different people like
That's right.
this is good. This is a good plan. I like
That's a
this
good
plan.
solid plan. Exactly. And so once Christopher Nolan buys us a screening, we'll bill it as the ass backwards screening, and then we'll come full circle and we'll say, hey, we started with streaming and now we did a movie theater. Because normally you have to go through that whole thing where the industry says, hey, you do film festivals, then you put it in a few small movie theaters, and then you do this and then you do that. And that's kind of the way it goes. And obviously being indie gave me the luxury of deciding, because there was a part of me that was like, well, what if I just sit on the film, but we don't know how long that's going to be.
Yeah.
Hopefully everything will be more chill next year, but that's still a long time away. And it
Yeah.
would have been 2 years from shooting the film. And obviously, like, after Son of Clowns, I realized that it is very needed and healthy to just move on with projects for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
I hit the promotion very hard right away when they come out. But after a few, insert amount of time here, weeks, months, whatever, like I need to start working on the next thing, whether it's writing,
Yeah.
shooting, just for my own sanity. I love all my films, but this film also just needed to get into the world because it had a message that I think is strangely more needed now than it was when we made it, and we didn't know that,
Yeah.
because it's all about
Yeah.
dealing with hard stuff. And the whole theme of the film is you're not alone, while a lot of us are. And what does community look like when you don't have them right in front of you? And that's what the
Yeah.
character Camus goes through. So
Well, what is next for you? What are you working on?
Great question. As I am juggling like 2 or 3 script ideas and just kind of trying to figure out, what deserves the attention. And I'm
Yeah.
sort of just kind of ping ponging around between all of them. But the one that I'm most excited about is definitely, hopefully, something I can shoot in the near future when it is more, safe to do so, obviously. And I'm hoping that's going to be sooner than later. And it's kind of a funny little film about a horror element with a band breaking up at the same time. So I don't want to say too much because it's still kind of a work in progress, but
I hear
it'll
ya.
be a little more of a lean into horror, which I've not quite done. So we'll
That
see.
sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I am all up for that. But let
Yeah.
me ask you one more question. This is so my podcast, Missing Frames. We watch all the movies we should have seen by this point in our lives. There's so many that I still need
Yeah.
to see. I haven't seen Chinatown. I haven't there are tons of movies I haven't seen.
It's the
What is-
eternal
what's the-
list. Yeah, I know exactly what you're
It's-
talking about. Like,
it's never ending,
Yeah.
but it's great because if it ended, I wouldn't have a podcast. So
That's right.
what is the movie that you're like, this is the one I will watch and I have to see it? I just have never gotten around to it or never been able to commit the time to it. What's your missing frame?
one that comes to mind, I don't know why. I don't know if this is the best movie in the world because I haven't seen it. But Groundhog Day.
Oh man, yeah,
I've
that's
never
a great
seen it.
missing frame.
Yeah.
Oh, you definitely see it. It is a fantastic
I
film.
know I
And
need to
Bill
see
Murray,
it.
you will.
Yeah.
You'll see it. Don't worry. It'll happen.
Yeah.
But, no, that's a great pick.
Yeah.
You were like, I don't know. No, that's a fantastic pick.
That was the first one that came to mind. So maybe that's my
was-
subconscious giving me a nudge.
All right. Well, Evan, this is an awesome film. I can't wait to see other things from you. I can't wait to see where you go. And I'm extremely impressed with what you've been able to pull off just on your own. I think that's really inspiring. Do you want to leave any advice for the young up and comers who are trying to get into film? And obviously now is not the best time to be doing that. But what's your advice? Like, what's the final words to send them off into the galaxy far, far away to inspire them?
Yeah. I would say, if you're debating on making a film, you should probably just do it because you wouldn't be debating if it wasn't important to you. And, if you have a story that you feel is unique to yourself and your experience that you don't see out in the world, you should be the one to tell it because, no one else will. No one else has your mind and your, years of experience and your life story. So I think that you should be that person to put it in the world. And it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's going to be loved. It doesn't mean, it's going to be the next big thing. 4 people may watch it and then, we all move on and get some Chipotle, but which, that's our life, that's fine. But if you get it out of your system, you've grown as an artist and then you're out there preparing to make the next one. And you wouldn't have done that if you didn't make the first one. So that's what I would always say is it's my roundabout way of saying, just do it. But nobody wants to hear just do it. So.
But you got to do it. You
You
got to
do
do it. How about instead of just do it, you got to do it.
You got to
Switch
do
it up
it,
a little
man.
bit.
Come on. Come on. Come on is my advice.
So where can people I mean, the movie is streaming on Amazon. Where can
is.
people find you and other work that you've done? And if they want to ask you questions about it, is there a tweeter that they can find
Yes.
you on? Give us all the deets.
There is one of those. I'm on one of those tweeters. So at Mr. Evan Kidd, that is my Twitter, and Panda Barrett, it's got one as well. And like you said, the film's on Amazon, so you can go stream it tonight. Tell a friend, and a couple of my other films are out there too. And I'm really big on YouTube. Not actually big. I have like 500 subscribers. But I'm big on putting
That's still
things
500 subscribers
on YouTube. Yeah, there you go. That's exactly the
There
way
you
to
go.
say it. That came out wrong, but the the way I mean to say it is like I'm big on like dumping all this information that is very specific to film out of my brain database and like just into the world. And I think YouTube is the best way to do it because tweets get buried, posts get forgotten, but YouTube you can rewind, you can get the person's actual talking self out there and hear what they're saying, kind of like a podcast. But it's just
Hey.
the way I've been doing things, so just dumping that knowledge and also putting films. Like my first film, Son of Clowns, is on YouTube, and it was cool because it's on Amazon. But like when I dropped it there were people who were saying, oh yeah, I'm in Germany and there's no way to watch Amazon Prime there,
Right.
the way it's region locked and stuff with your film. So yeah, that was cool to do. And so yeah, those are kind of the easiest places to find me.
Awesome. Well, Evan, thank you so much. best of
Totally.
luck. We will stay in touch. We will chat again.
Please do.
I'm sure more things will be coming out down the pipeline once things are a little less insane in the world.
Yes.
But I'm very much looking forward to it. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate it.